So you found a tenant who's interested in your shopping center. Now it's time to screen them. Here's 3 things you should do to go ahead and make sure you're getting the highest quality tenants possible for your shopping center. Number 1, if they have other stores, you should absolutely visit those other stores and see how they're run. So as a funny story, I was in a shopping center on Capitol Drive in Brookfield a few weeks ago, and I walk into this jewelry store because I was door knocking looking for new tenants. The owner of the jewelry store, she's sitting there smoking cigarettes left and right, and there's cigarette butts all over the store. On top of that, there's empty boxes just lying around on the floor. It's a mess in that store, and it's really disgusting. But I knew right then and there that even if she was interested in any of the shopping centers I was leasing, I, in good conscience, could not recommend her to any of my landlords. So number 1, go to their existing locations and see how they're run. Number 2 is interview the neighbors. Back in the day when I was leasing office buildings, I remember at one point, we had a tenant interested in one of the vacancies I was filling. I door knocked that building and started talking to other tenants saying like, hey, I'm leasing an office building in the area. Fun fact, one of your neighbors is actually moving to our office building. Would you be interested in taking a look as well? And then when I told the other neighbors in that building who the tenant was that we were looking to place in our building, they started sharing a lot of stories. Oh, well, yeah, if they're looking at leaving this building, it'd probably be a good thing. They're super noisy. Their employees are always in the lobbies of the building. They're always causing ruckus and a mess. When we were going through and negotiating that lease with that tenant, we knew that we had to set strict rules on common area usage. We knew that when we were doing the build out, we needed to very heavily consider soundproofing. So we ended up getting the lease done, and they turned out to be a really great tenant. But what was more important is that that information that the neighbors gave us really helped make sure that we were placing them in a way that was cohesive to the rest of the office building. So that's number 2, is you want to make sure you're interviewing with the neighbors to get their insights on the tenant you're placing. Number 3, you want to look at the financials of the tenant. How much cash on hand do they have? If they ran out of that cash on hand, do they have lines of credit available to them so that way they can continue funding their business operations should something happen? How long have they been in business? What does their profit look like? All that information you're going to find out from their financial statements, and that's going to get you a really good understanding of whether they can afford their rent and whether they have experience in paying rent amounts like the one you're asking for them right now. So those are the 3 things you should be doing. Number 1, visiting a tenant's existing store. Number 2, interviewing the neighbors. And number 3, asking for financials. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's Mark Minute, and I look forward to seeing you next week.